primarily because this Sunday is 12th of June, and June 12th is Democracy Day in Nigeria. Praise the Lord. Now I'll be talking a little bit about leadership. Nearly 10 years ago, I woke up one morning and read a book, and then in that book, I read a quote. It said, "Everything in life rises and falls on leadership." From that very day, something woke up inside of me, and I began to pursue the subject of leadership. Sessions, I've met many people, had many discussions, and it all comes down to the fact that I believe that God intended man to lead when God created man. Praise the Lord. God intended man to lead when God created man. Now, this statement that everything in life rises and falls on leadership is even more so validated all through the Bible, all through the scriptures. You will see that everything in life really rose and fell on leadership. What is leadership? There are many definitions to the term leadership, but I won't bore us with all those many definitions. To me, I believe leadership is taking responsibility for influencing progressive movement of people from one point to another. Taking responsibility for influencing the progressive movement of people from one point to another. So looking at my definition, there are a few components of leadership we'll just briefly talk about. The first component of leadership is influence. Influence. Miles Monroe said that leadership is influence and nothing more. Influence and nothing more. Leadership is influence and nothing more. I believe every person is a leader because you have one person that you have influence over. You have one person that you have influence over. And if you can influence one person, you are a leader. The question is, what do you do with the influence that you have? What kind of influence do you wield on people? What do you do with the influence that you have? What can people point to you and say, because of you, I did this. Because of you, this thing happened to me. That is where the measure of your influence begins. The problem with our leadership in our nation today is that we have influence, but influence is always negative. The influence that our leaders wield is always negative. And when we wield negative influence, the outcome will always be negative. Praise the Lord. The second component of leadership from my definition is responsibility. Remember, I said leadership is taking responsibility for influencing people. So responsibility. To take responsibility. God created man to be a responsible being. The very moment man decided to be irresponsible, creation turned upside down. When God came and required of man, why are you hiding? God said to Adam, why are you hiding? Immediately, man, instead of taking responsibility, man began to pass the buck. And that was the day the whole creation fell apart. So leadership is about taking responsibility. You must take responsibility for the change you want to see. You must take responsibility for the change you want to see. Many times in our country, we don't take responsibility. We think that the problem is with somebody else. We think the problem is with the person at the top, the person behind, the person next door is always the problem. But look deep within you. You would see that the problem is with you. Praise the Lord. So take responsibility. Tell your neighbor, take responsibility. Take responsibility. The third component of that definition is progress. Tell somebody progress. The definition says a leader, you are taking responsibility to influence people to make progressive movement from one point to another. So if people cannot point to you and say, because of we made progress, it means your leadership is failing. If people cannot point to you and say, because of you we made progress, if you're the head of a department, if you're the leader of a unit, you're the leader of a home cell or a crib, and then there is no progress that can be recorded under your leadership, you have failed. And that's the truth. Because leadership is about making progress. So if we look at our nation today and we don't see progress, it means our leadership has failed. Praise the Lord. So leadership is about making progress. And then the last component of that definition is people. And this is one of the biggest challenges we have in our nation today. That leadership is not about people. But if leadership is about people, If leadership is about people, then we would have a better nation. Many of the things we see today is that people, our leaders, what they front is what it is for their own interest. For their own interest. I believe strongly that the challenge, the end time challenge for Nigeria is bad leadership. For Japan, it could be tsunamis. For America, it could be hurricanes. But for Nigeria, it's bad leadership. Because I cannot understand how we have everything, yet we don't have that leadership. If you look at places that have nothing, but because they have leadership, they are making progress. When the tsunami happened in 2010 in Japan, the Prime Minister of Japan said, for the Japanese people, we don't have anything, but our greatest asset is the people that we have. Our greatest asset is the people that we have. Even though the tsunami has taken out everything we have, give us a short while, we will rebuild because we have people. But for us here in Nigeria, we have so many people, but nothing to do with those people that we have. So people should be at the center of our leadership. And if all the $5,000 and $10,000 and $15,000 and $20,000 that have been spent, if it were spent on people, for people's sake, then we would see progress in our leadership. But it was not spent for people's sake. It was spent for stomach's sake of very few individuals, for selfish interests. And that's why we always have these arguments on should we zone to the left or zone to the right. It's because it is not about people. Now, hunger does not respect zoning. Insecurity does not respect zoning. All these things we're talking about, all the problems we have in this nation does not respect zoning. What do these things respect? They respect leadership. If we have the right leader, we won't have those problems. Yes, we should zone to the left or zone to the right so that everybody will feel that we have equity and justice in the system. But that zoning should be based on the interest of the people and not just a few persons. Next year, April 2023, we'll be having the elections in Nigeria. And these elections give us a chance, an opportunity for us to make that change and take that responsibility. Now, many people may say, I'm not sure my vote will count. I'm not sure they will rig the election. I'm not sure. People come out to vote. The likelihood of them to rig that election successfully, elections are more difficult to rig when people vote. But when people don't vote, elections are easy to rig. So come 2023, do not sit back and say, this country, that's what them be. That's how we are. No. A people or the leadership of every nation is a reflection of the people. That we have monsters as leaders is because the people are monsters. Those monsters we have as leaders, they came from homes. They came from families. So who made them the monsters? The people in the homes and families. The only way we can change the monsters that lead us is when we change ourselves from our families. So if the families come together and say, no, we need good people, and they vote good people, we'll have good people in power. So leadership for us in our nation is the most important thing. I tell people, corruption is not the problem of Nigeria. The biggest problem of Nigeria is not corruption, it's bad leadership. If we can correct bad leadership, we'll solve the problem of corruption once and for all. Thank you.